Hello everyone. If you can hear me, just raise your hand. Let me know you can hear me. I can see. Welcome, Dr. Kene. Okay. So I'll just let us gather for one more minute. Welcome to this masterclass. I'm really excited. Let's just gather for. Okay, it is 12:02 Central Time. And I would like to welcome each and every one of you to my first free masterclass for pharmacists and pharmacy students. I am really excited to be here today. It is always usually an honor when I get to connect with other healthcare professionals. So I really appreciate you making time to be here today. I know over 100 people registered for this webinar and or masterclass, but as you know, schedules and everything will prevent some from coming live, but they plan to watch the replay of this video. So without further ado, I just want to jump into why we're here today. So our topic is collaborative relational intelligence, a leadership framework for pharmacists. The missing skill the top 1% of pharmacists use to become unstoppable. I am really very excited to bring something really new and unique. A lot of people have been asking me to do something like this, those that know what I do and those that have actually gone through my training. So again, I cannot state how excited I am to bring this to my pharmacy colleagues. So as you know, healthcare statistics show that pharmacists and physicians rather are key players in providing healthcare. And the key is for this to happen successfully, there need to be some kind of interprofessional collaboration. Because when we have interprofessional collaboration, errors are decreased, compliance is more, and adverse effects are reduced. Billions of dollars are wasted yearly, due to waste in hospital. As a matter of fact, what really prompted me to go further and to do what I am doing now, which we will talk about, is the fact that when I worked in the hospital, I saw that, there was just a lot of waste due to lack of collaboration. And so when I pursued my second doctorate, I made sure that I focus on something that will enable me to be able to understand what pharmacies can do together with physicians to be able to curb this. Coming from a third world country, Cameroon, just seeing medication being wasted was a big deal because we have people there that will even accept to take expired medication to get better. And when you see waste like that, it was really something that stuck to the strings of my heart. Also, medical errors, they said up to 66% of it, research show, is due to lack of professional collaboration and poor patient communication. And because I'm using the word communication, today you realize that communication is not what we always deemed it to be. Burnout among pharmacists is really high, 66%. And then ethnic, cultural, and gender diversity contributes to ineffective communication. With all this, the Institute of Medicine have actually issued a call to action for professional-based education to incorporate some, interpersonal or people management skill in their training, because they realize that these skills are really needed in order to be effective in doing what we do in healthcare or as healthcare professionals. But we also know as pharmacists or healthcare professionals that pharmacy school in particular, taught us so many things, but they never taught us some of the things that we're dealing with when it comes to dealing with patients, when it comes to entrepreneurship, when it comes to even transitioning from one career to the other, when it comes to dealing with the different physician personalities that will come across. So without further ado, I just want to touch on my background. So of course, I'm a pharmacist like most of you here or all of you here, and I went further to pursue a PhD in health services, focus on leadership. And my dissertation, I was really very intentional. I focused on relational intelligence, a framework for pharmacists and physicians, because as I said, I really wanted to understand what we can do differently to be able to bring pharmacists and physicians together in order to be able to provide cost-effective quality care. I have a decision out there, and out with humility, I will say that is the only research that is scholarly and has been published that has touched on pharmacists and physicians working using relational intelligence. But out of that research, and with my other many trainings as certified executive coach, human behavioral consultant, trained in neuro-linguistic programming, I came up with 2 leadership frameworks: collaborative relational intelligence and the double roding rule. I'm glad to say that these frameworks have been used to transform the lives of many individuals and organizations. And many organizations now use it now as the key leadership training for their professionals. You name it, like pharmacy residency programs and so many other different clienteles, that are not even healthcare related, use this framework. What I'm saying is that this framework is really powerful. So now, I am Dr. Lisa, and I'll say that I break walls erected based on false assumption, generally because I have a generalized clientele. But for pharmacists and healthcare professionals, I say I empower and inspire pharmacists and other healthcare professionals to unlock their interpersonal leadership potentials in order for them to achieve whatever goal they want in life, be it being among the top 1% on top of the pharmacists and healthcare professionals, just whatever goal you want in life. And I do so by teaching them some simple, practical, and inspiring CRQ leadership techniques that are guaranteed to be transformational. Now, Henry Ford once said, coming together is the beginning. Keeping together is progress, but working together is success. If you work with me and you hang on to the end, I promise I will deliver. So just to start with this, I have a question for you. Have you earned the right to lead as a pharmacist? And this sounds kind of provocative. Yes, there's a reason behind this. And if you say yes to this question, how well do you know yourself? How well do you understand others? How intelligent are you in your relationships? And I want you to hold your thought from now while I dive in deeper. So, there are different forms of leadership, that will be introduced to you. I mean, the word leadership has become so common, and you have the different types that we all, for me personally, have gotten confused because there is transformational, there is collaborational, there is servant leadership. But, the ones I want to hone down on, which I think are really very important, are the intra-party leadership. I'd like each and every one of you today to realize that so long as you're a human being, you are a leader. Because there's an intra-party leadership that when it's not taken care of properly, you end up having conflict. Remember, poor communication leads to conflict, and conflict is the number one reason why we live a mediocre lifestyle, or we fail in our career or in our personal life. And most of it, sometimes we have conflict with ourselves. And that is why the intra-party leadership is really very important. Then there's an inter-party leadership, which is the leadership between you and somebody, between you, your organization, and another organization. Then in my research, I touched on the spiritual party leadership and cultural. And I realized that there was something very common in all this, because each cultural or spiritual norm or religion calls for people to do a certain thing. And while people struggle to do that, for example, they say love your neighbor as yourself. And while people struggle to do that, you will realize that what is like to somebody is not what is really like to the other person. And because we are not really taught the reason and the psychology behind this, sometimes we end up failing, thinking that we end up fail others while trying to do good to them. So what do I mean by that? Until I was able to touch through research on the psychology that governs leadership, all of this did not make sense. So today I say you are in for a treat, because I'm going to unlock something that probably you've never heard before, and it's the psychology of leadership, which is basically the science that governs our behavior. Okay, psychology of leadership is the science that governs our behavior. So you realize that we have moved through different ages in life, from the hunting gathering age to manufacturing, or to farming manufacturing, and to technological age. And now when the computers came, we moved now from technology mode to relational age. Why? Because a lot of people became knowledge worker. In the past, IQ used to be the definitive term for success. But research now shows that your IQ accounts only for 4 to 10% of your success. If you are with me, let me know you are with me. If you are with me, 4 to 10% of your success will be based on what you learn in pharmacy. Up to 85 to 90% of our success comes from how we relate to each other. And we are in the relational age because when technology came, most people became knowledge worker. People now are not looking for knowledge workers because we have abundance of knowledge workers. What people are looking for, companies are looking for people that are relational, people are looking for experience. So for you to stand out, for you to be unstoppable in your personal life and career, you have to understand how to relate to others. And there's a trick and technique to that. So that brings me to CRQ. So what is CRQ and where does it come from? Actually, it stems from emotional intelligence. How many of you have heard of emotional intelligence? If you've heard, just say EQ. So now CRQ basically is knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. So when you have knowledge and you have understanding, wisdom is what comes of it when you apply this to. And so with CRQ, for you to be able to use this effectively, a few things have to come to mind. For you to know yourself, you have to know your personality. You have to understand the personalities of others. And what does that mean? We have to use all these personality styles that are individualized based on each individual that we meet, and we incorporate it into the 10 branches of CRQ, and which is, the double rhodium rule, first impression, endorsement, executive present, feedback, acknowledgement, flexibility, trust, and meta position listening. I have the double rhodium rule twice here because it's the foundation of CRQ. I guarantee if you are able to take all of this and you apply to each person individually, you will win in every interaction that you are in. So let's move further. If you treat anybody the way you would like to be treated, you will fail in this relational age. You will fail cataclysmically because you will soon realize that everybody is so unique. Everybody is so different. So what you like is not what I like, which means what Martin Prince likes is not what I, Dr. Lisa, likes. The platinum rule says treat people the way they want to be treated, which is good. And I see some companies using that as their motto. Then we move to the double rhodium rule that says treat people the way they want to be treated, and even in ways that they cannot be treated. Then the rhodium rule says inspire yourself so others can be inspired. So I came along now with the double rhodium rule that says know yourself, understand others, and inspire them in ways that they don't even know they can be inspired without asking how. Every interaction leaves an impression. You don't have a second chance to build that first impression, and we'll go deeper into this. I just want to throw in here some pictures of how, I've used this phenomenon to really transform organizations and universities and stuff. This picture just kind of popped up here. I didn't think it was here, but it's just a good example of how I've used CRQ to transform organization. And I want to just pause a little bit before I go deeper and I just share a testimonial. And I think this is really profound. I trained a director that came to work for a Fortune 100 company. He said, if I knew this concept of CRQ, I would not be here today training for this job. I quit my job because of everything you just explained. I just didn't know that it was just because of the different styles. So I want you to pay attention as we dig deeper, because we are quitting jobs, we are transitioning without having an answer to why. So today, I'm going to focus on how we can use the 4 Ks of CRQ to prevent emotional burnout, communicate and build rapport virtually, speak the language of physicians, effectively manage patient drama, leadership skills needed for any job that you will need, and how to stand out in your career and make more money. Most importantly, it's going to enable you to be able to improve your work-life balance. So for us to even talk about our interpersonal side of our leadership, there is no way we can do that without touching on something they call diversity and inclusion. And this is a typical diagram of what diversity and inclusion is all about. And if you see right here, the focus on personality, But today, I don't know if you were like me, when I came to this country, I was very happy when they said diversity and inclusion. To me, it meant that they would tell the men that as a woman, I could do whatever they can do. And then for me being African American or Black, it meant you were telling the Caucasians that, hey, you cannot be racist towards me. My knowledge about what diversity and inclusion was very limited. Today, we're going to go deeper and speak to something that is more unifying, because I realize that when I speak to groups about this phenomenon, the one thing feedback I get is that for the first time, I'm not made to feel bad that I am racist or I am a male or I'm being put in a box. But before we do that, I want to touch on something really, really important. That is gender diversity. Gender diversity, as you can see, it's right here. And why? Because when we go out about our business, we meet a male and a female. And if we don't understand how we are wired from that standpoint, right there, it could be a problem. So they say male versus female. We'll start with the brain. Dr. Jans did a study. He says just the brain of a male and female alone, there are about more than 100 differences. So in our career as pharmacists, we're going to deal with male patients and female patients, male physicians, female physicians, or even co-workers. So we have to realize that in the brain of the male, they have something called gray matter. That gray matter is 7 times more than that of the female. The female has something called white matter, and it's 10 times more than that of a male. And because of that, male are more task-oriented by nature, and women are more multitasker. So you will see a woman will be able to answer a phone at the same time they are cooking, at the same time they can even be changing the diaper and doing so many things at the same time. And most often, a male will be able to do one thing at a time. So if you have a colleague or a co-worker that is like that, I want you to start realizing that there might be some differences there. So conflict should not arise just because of that. The second thing is that females have different kinds of hormones. You know, women have oxytocin and men have more of the testosterone. So women are more emotionally attached. So they will be talking more about their feelings and stuff. So in times of conflict, you will see partnership break. Why? Because women say that their feelings are not being heard, while men feel that they say they are not being respected or appreciated. But the other thing I want to hone on that is really very important. In the brain of the female, we have the hippocampus that is slightly bigger than that of male. And because of that, the female tends to store more information than the male. What this means is that and then the verbal center too, female have 2 verbal centers and male have 1. So in times of strife or time of conflict, females can tend to be more historical because they can remember stuff, and hysterical because they have all this information. So I always tell women that even though the hippocampus is bigger and you can store information, the quality of information we store is also very important. So I like to throw this here from the start, because if we realize that from that standpoint we are different, we learn to become more tolerant to others. Are you learning something? If you're learning something, you just put in the chat box something new. Then I will move now from there to the universal language that will break this down into how unique we are as individuals. This language is neutral, it is universal, which means it is neutral in the sense that there is no right, there is no wrong. It is universal, it means if you go to Cameroon or China, you can use this language. In order for us to know ourselves and understand others, we have to be able to put this into practice or understand this. And then it is silent, which means you can apply it without even speaking to that person. So when the Roger Rule says you treat people the way they want to be treated without asking how, when you're applying this language very silently, you're able to interact with them and communicate effectively. It is also observable. So now with this language, it was brought up by Dr. Matson that started the lie detector test. You know, it helps us to understand how people do things based on how they move. It is also called the disc, okay? So it takes care of your behavior, but remember your behavior is different from your motivation. So we are focused today on our behavior, how we do the things we do and not why, the reason behind it. And then it also helps to unlock our behavioral blindness, because we live in a culture where we are wired to think that it's always somebody's fault. But when we realize that we ourselves may have blind spots, that self-awareness kicks in, and then we are able to work differently with others. So that lands me to this. So I want us to just sit here for a little bit and learn something really powerful. There will be two types of people you will meet out there. For you to be able to apply CRQ effectively and be intentional about it, you have to realize that there will be an outgoing group of people and a reserved group of people. The outgoing group of people right now, it is very easy for you to be able to identify them. Today, you're going to live with something practical, and this is the one practical thing you will take. So for you to identify somebody that is outgoing, they move their hand, they are more like this, and then they have broad gestures. And then a reserved person, generally, their hands will really be down. They don't have a lot of facial movement or hand movement, okay? The outgoing person, they are more loud than the reserved. So when you can separate these two groups of people, right there, you're already winning in working with people. Now, with the outgoing people, you have the outgoing that is divided into the dominance and the I. So let's talk about the D dominance. These are a group of people that are very, very resource driven. They make up 10% of the population. They are very direct and they are very competitive. This is very important because a lot of times when people say that my boss is difficult, 95% of the time they fall in this because they are not understood well by people. So there are people that will cut you off on the phone. Why? Because they don't like long conversation. They always think in terms of what is in there for me. So when you are working, even with physicians and patients, and you are communicating to them even how to take their medication, you start by telling them what is in there for them. When I am talking to a physician, when I walk in based on their body movement and based on the posture that they take, I already know that even though this is a trained doctor, they are originally, or their other personality is a D, I know to go straight to the point. So I tell them that if you're able to do this, this is what you get, because they want to win in everything that they do, or they want to have that feeling. So they like respect, okay? So the D personality people like to be respected. They like to be the boss of everyone, okay? They are straight to the point. So a D personality is one that if you say, how do I look? If you really don't look good, they'll tell you not good, period, like that. And a lot of people find this very offensive. The other day I was training I just gave a training to some consultants for a Fortune 100 company. And one pharmacist said, at my previous job, I had a director and I did not know that it was because he's a D personality. I thought throughout that he hated me. He hated me and I had this feeling throughout that he never really cared. But with this information, maybe I would have perceived him differently and my job and career will be different. You're going to meet physicians that are wired like this. And if you don't have this background information, you might carry on your soldier a negative feeling that is never there. I remember I was working in Lansing and I was driving home. I decided to stop to get gas. And I said, let me get some nuts. I went into this gas station to get peanuts. As soon as I got to the counter, I realized that I picked the wrong peanuts. But what I noticed was that the guy at the desk did not even pay attention to me. You know how you engage somebody that walks into your store? I had none of that. And when I came and I realized that I picked the wrong thing and I gave it to him, he yanked it from my hand. As soon as he yanked it from my hand, and I said, oh wow, this is the wrong thing. And I brought back the right thing. You could tell he was really mad at this time. And the person next to me was another African American. If I never knew this knowledge that I knew today, honestly, I would have thought he was a chauvinist or a racist, because those were the only two things that could define his behavior then. But immediately I realized that this was a D personality who is also very tax-oriented. So you see, this side of it is tax-oriented. So he's very tax-oriented. He's focused on the next thing and he's thinking of what is there for me. So by me wasting his time was being very, very offensive. So, but I knew how to bring him back to his self-awareness. I knew that he was working in his unconscious mindset. So what I did was I just slowly told him, that wasn't too nice. And immediately it gave him that self-awareness that he needed. So it helped to activate what they call his prefrontal cortex. And what he did was like, and immediately he became really nice. But what I was not expecting from him was, I am sorry. The D personalities, they find it very hard to say sorry. I have a son that is a D personality too. If he does something and my husband says you have to apologize, this is how they say sorry. Sorry, or Mom, I'm sorry, but you started it, or you owe me an apology too. So because I am not expecting an apology from a D personality, by him being self-aware and behaving differently, That alone is an apology from a D personality. So when you meet these kind of people, a lot of things that you want to do is try to make them feel that they are the boss. So if you have a boss that is a D personality, you go to them with suggestions. You say, this is what I have done, and what do you think? They like it that way. But now, if you are a D personality and you're wired this way, there are a few things you like to know. That you have a blind spot that says that you are not patient with others, 1, 2, and that other people can be your boss too. So, and I want you to be identifying people you've come across, that you've worked with, that you feel that have this personality. I gave a talk at a church in DC, and the pastor then got up and said, for 2 years, I had a member of my church attack. Every time I would talk to him on the phone, he wants to hang up on me very, very quickly. And I thought he hated me. Until today, I did not realize that this guy was just wired differently. Can you imagine the feud that we can carry in our heart, the conflict we can carry in our heart, the burden, just because we do not understand others? At this point, I would like us to pause and put our hands together, because the D personality, they are not wrong, they are not right, they are just different and unique. So let's put our hands together for the D personalities. Join me. And you can put your high five up, so let me know we're clapping for them. We celebrate each other. Now, the D personality, by the way, these are people that have very high instincts, and they call them natural born leader. You will see that we need all of these people in every team to be able to be successful. The I personality, now they are very enthusiastic, very friendly, very optimistic. So they are the people that when they meet you, they want to talk about, hey, how are you? Happy Monday, happy Sunday, and stuff like that. They bring the energy into the room. They are very, very, oh my goodness, they can sell you a pen that is $5 for $100. They are the salespeople that you will meet out there. But the thing with the I personality is that sometimes they forget to keep commitments. The other thing with them is that they have the bad vibe of being gossip. Not really gossip, it's just that they are excited about information, and they're always thinking of the next exciting thing. So if something is not exciting to an I personality, all of a sudden they will act really bored. You will see kids that are I personalities, sometimes they want to put them on medications and stuff like that. So let's be careful with that. So without too much focus on this, I just want us to know that the I personalities are the ones that are very outgoing. They are people that have very great high impression out there. So let's put our hands for the I personality. They are not wrong, they are not right, they are just different. And then now, below now is the reserve. I'm just going to touch on this for 5 minutes before we move really quick. The S personality are the steady personality, sincere, patient, and modest. These are the group of people that get along with everybody. Okay, and they make about 35% of the population. And so with these people, what is with them is that they don't know how to say no, because they really care about people. They hate gossip, they hate conflict, they don't like contention. So if you bring that around them, you make them depressed. So you see how the D personalities thrive on chaos. They don't mind, but that S personality, chaos will instead make them depressed. So a D personality cannot say, I want to treat them the way I want to be treated, because that would really destroy the relationship. Most pharmacists, nurses, funeral directors, most of them are S personality. They are wired to get this kind of job because they are trained to be like that, really people oriented. They put people first. So let's put our hand for the S at personality. The only thing with the S is that it's okay to say no. So now the next reserve personality will be the C personality, and most physicians fall in this category. They think in terms of why. So when you're talking to a physician, you want to make sure that you have evidence as to why you're talking to them. So we as pharmacists, we have to understand the language that physicians speak. Just as when I speak to physicians, I want them to understand the language of pharmacists. So the physicians want you to talk to them in terms of why. If you're going to change a patient from daptomycin to vancomycin, they don't need to ask you why. If you go to them with why and evidence, you will win a physician. They will give you the total respect that you need, okay? The other thing with them is that they need time to think. They like to move slow on things, and they like you to be very patient with them. They are very analytical, and they like to be accurate. So they think in terms of, let's take time and do this, let's be accurate and provide excellence. And with that being said, that is what they will expect from you. Remember, people like people that are like them, or people that they want to be like. So if you speak the language of a physician, what happens is that you're going to win the physician to your side every time. It's guaranteed. But you have to, first of all, be able to speak that language. One thing I want us to carry from this slide today is that with physicians, they hate to be criticized. They don't like to be criticized. So whatever information you want to give to physicians, make sure you use words that do not put blame on them, because they work so hard to be accurate, and you can blame them without blaming them. And there is a technique to that. So let's put our hands for the C personality, because the physicians fall in this category, accountants fall in this category, and there are many others. Let's put our hands for them. They are not wrong, they are not right, they are just different. Thank you. Are we learning something? Please let me put in the chat box one thing you've learned so far. So I need that motivation so we can keep going there. The start was a little bit rocky, but let's keep moving. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ken. I see you're learning. Okay. Communication. Now we have to realize that for us not to be able to use this personality, we have to have a common understanding that communication is just 7% what we say. The other 93% of communication is non-verbal. And why is this important? It is important because our voice tone now becomes an apparatus for us to communicate. Our body is a huge tool of influence, and we build rapport through our body. Up to 55% of communication is based on our body, how we carry ourselves. So non-verbal communication becomes very, very important, and we'll dig deeper. So rapport, let's dig deep on rapport. So now for you to be able to speak to a D, the I, and the S personality, CRQ tells you that you have to be able to adapt to the personality of that person while understanding yours. So for you to be able to talk to a D personality, you have to first of all understand what they will appreciate as their communication style. So one, you have to pay attention. And let's say for some reason you were blank and you did not know their personality, whether it's DIS. You come in with a technique called matching and mirroring. Matching and mirroring is very, very important, because all you need to do is you move into the body form of the other person to build rapport. You see the way all these people are seated, everybody is taking the same body motion together. And then the other thing is that when you do that, you are able now to be able to move people from one state to the other. Then what you do is that you want to first of all match and mirror them. I do this with physicians a lot, and it works very effectively. There are techniques that I use from the time I walk into the doctor's office until I get to the doctor. Right at the moment when I walk through the doctor's office, right with the receptionist, and when I get in there, everything becomes really very intentional. There's also something called the eye technique. The eye technique is very important. Why? It is important because you can just look at people and you see the way that they move their eye, you are able to build rapport with them. So when somebody, because people like people that are like them or people that they want to be like, when you see somebody that moves their eyes upward and downward, those are thinkers. So when you're talking to them, you want to use words like, what do you think? When you see people that, when they move their eyes sideways, they are thinkers. When they move their eyes upward, they are visual. So you say, how do you see this? And how do you think about this? When they look down, they are feel. I say, how do you feel about this? Remember, people like people that lie like them. And because you are speaking their language, you build rapport with them better. So now, proximity is very also important. So you want to make sure that you close the distance between two people in order to build rapport. So when somebody is standing up and you're sitting down, it breaks rapport. So when you go to talk to physicians or you're trying to build rapport, even in an interview or to a patient, you want to make sure that you close the gap. But you want to be respectful of the different space that you have between people. There's social space, public space, and personal space. Okay. Thank you, Rajesh. I see that this is wonderful. I like that. Thank you for the feedback. Okay, sitting position too is very particular. This is Gino's. When I go, my job sometimes is to go to doctors that, are difficult or not difficult, or doctor that really need to fall in line with a certain initiative that we are working on. And so as soon as I walk into the doctor's office, I am able to know what sitting position to take. Now, I want to go directly to something called thinking without thinking. Why is this important? Because we're going to be talking about first impression. Because there are 10 CRQ leadership branches, but we're going to touch on 3. Very important. We've talked about communication, now we're talking about first impression. First impression is very, very powerful. As a matter of fact, first impression, as you see here, people will make their mind about you within 5 to 10 seconds, and usually it does not change. Dr. Nabali at Tufts University did a study and saw that a professor that came to school the first week of the month, and after a year or so, they did the same study, and people's impression about that teacher did not change. So it is very important that we make the first the first impression we make to people is very, very powerful and important. Why is it important? Why? Because once we get external event or when we come with external circumstances, our brain has a system in place that is a filter. This filter helps to delete information, generalize, exaggerate, and distort. And this is doing so based on our beliefs. Remember, our brain, our mind is made of the conscious and subconscious. We are only 10% conscious. 90% of our mind sits in the unconscious, subconscious part of it. And so this subconscious mind now, we build information there based on the picture we paint and the things we tell ourselves. And because we've gone through different experiences in life, we have information stored in that subconscious. All of a sudden, when we come into an environment, we start filtering information based on that. We delete, we distort, we exaggerate, and then we generalize. So now with CRQ, I challenge everybody that is learned, that knows this language, to be able to challenge their unconscious, because it's the power of thinking without thinking. Because when we live in that subconscious state, we end up being unintentional. And because we are unintentional, we are doing things that we are not aware. There is no way we can build relationship in that way. Okay? So now, when we get this information through this filter, that is how our behavior is formed. And that behavior is even seen in our body language because of that filter. And whatever we see now, we take in, it is projected through our body language. So that is why first impression is important. Your body language is important because 55% communicates who you are. So how you dress becomes important. I always tell people, dress for success. You know, the other thing to cultivate first impression is the name, the handshake, the title. Your title is your endorsement. So it's always very important that when you are in an appropriate place, you can use it. It gives you the right to be able to speak to certain things, okay? The pen is another one that, you know, we don't have time to go into. I realize when speaking to doctors, we want to carry quality pen because they think of quality answer. Anything quality is the mantra of physicians. It shows that you are intelligent enough just by you carrying a good pen to even stand before them. And this works effectively. So we're going to move slightly faster. First impression now leads to you being professionally sound. For you to stand out as a professional, you have to build that gravitas. And for you to build that gravitas, you have to make sure that you stand out as a healthcare professional and as a pharmacist, because it helps to build your credibility, it helps to build your trust. Most job promotions right now, they say 26% of it is based on how we show up, okay? And so the question is, how are you showing up? And I always tell people, dress for success, period. Don't say I'm dressing authentically. Dress for success is the key. So now, when you take all of these different skills, you apply to these different personalities, the D, the I, the C, and the S. What comes out of this is you being collaboratively intelligent, because you are speaking to them in their language. You are giving a D person a firm handshake. To him, that's intelligent. With an I, you are giving them a hug, or you are smiling with them. With an S, you are tapping them, you are asking them things about their family and how they feel. With a C, you're standing a distant away when you're talking to them. You are being impersonal. You're just giving them quality answers, okay? So the D personality now is a very powerful tool, which we cannot get along, which we cannot go through it now. But I just want some key examples. Donald J. Trump is a D. And I want you to start having a mindset of who these people are and what that means. You see right here, usually you have 2 above the energy level. He has just 1. And you need a lot of energy to be able to move from one to the other. Bill Clinton is an ID. You see, so a lot of things some people do, it's not that they are motivated through weakness, but sometimes they are wired that way. And if you're not able to adapt, it becomes a problem. So the 4 Ks of CRQ warrants you to be able to know yourself, understand others, know your blind spot and the blind spot of others, and most importantly, being able to adapt. If you're able to adapt to different people and different personality, you become a rock star in anything you do. Because again, people like people that are like them and people that they want to be like. And there is no way you can be just by being yourself to every situation, because we are all unique. I want us to talk about virtual communication for a little bit. So this is really very important because we're in a virtual world, and I want you to go leave this place with some jam-packed information, okay? Virtual communication before you ever pick up the phone, you want to smile and you dial, because the smile helps to set the tone for the conversation, but the smile can be heard on the other side and it helps to build rapport. You want to make sure you call the name of somebody, because when people hear their name, it shows that you care enough. In between sentences, you pause, but don't make your pause too long, because if you make it too long, there are the different personalities that will think that is because they are doing something wrong, or they think that you are ignoring them. The one thing I want you to take here today is the mirror. In front of your computer today, make sure you put a mirror. When you put a mirror in front of your computer, it makes you to smile. And once you smile, there's a shift that takes place in your brain that it's a whole new workshop if I have to go into details. But a mirror is really very, very important in a virtual world and in how you communicate virtually. So I would like to pause here for a little bit, because I've been talking for a long time, and I want to invite a guest to just give her experience about just sitting and learning about CRQ for me. So that way it should not just be me talking about it. Is Dr. Miendang on the line?
Yes, I am, Lisa. So I was part of Dr. Lisa's training course, and I find it very, very helpful in communicating with not only the prescriber, but also the staff that work with them. It helped me communicate with them better.
Okay, good. So Dr. Miendang, thank you for your experience. I know your experience, so I can guess what you are telling the audience right now. Thank you for that. So virtual communication by phone. So what does this mean? Okay, D, you want to point to results. I, the lifelong conversation. S, warm, friendly, and consent. And C, detail oriented. Okay. As we move further, I want us to do a little quiz here. Let me know if you know the answers. Okay. Who is that personality that don't like to move quick on issue? Is it a D, I, and S? Just put it in the chat box real quick, please. Let's do a little quiz right here. Yes, that's true. That's a C personality. Thank you, Dr. Parker. Okay. Patience, being sensitive to others. Which personality is that? Okay, I will just move forward and say that is the S personality. Having issue remembering past commitments will be the I personality. It was so striking. One time I was giving this presentation to a group of pharmacists, and one told me that, Dr. Lisa, for the longest I thought my mom had amnesia, but today I've realized that she's just an I personality, because they are always thinking of the next one thing. Okay, not seeing the big picture. That will also be the C personality. Okay, all right. Okay, moving forward. So I just want, if you can tell me who these personality types are, so that way we know we've learned something. Oprah Winfrey, Simon Cowell, Josh Judy, Jay Leno. So Oprah Winfrey is the I, Simon Cowell is the D, Josh Judy D, Jay Leno I, Mike Pence C, Hillary Clinton D, Melania Trump S or C. So I just want you to start taking some examples with you. So you see, with the 10 branches of CRQ, you go through all the personalities and you apply them to first impression, endorsement, executive present. Care fronting is how to give feedback in a caring manner based on each personality. Acknowledgement. It is very important to realize that just because you have thank you for somebody does not mean that thank you can be given anyhow. People have actually quit their job because of how they were acknowledged. You don't want to be that person that wants to acknowledge your boss or your colleagues and instead offend them. Flexibility. There is room for flexibility in everything you do, and there's a way to do it based on each personality. How to build trust and meta position listening. There's a way you listen to each personality. So when you take all of that and you put it in these 10 CRQ branches, you become unstoppable. Okay. At this point, I want to call my second guest, Mr. Ken Stanfield, to just share for 1 minute his experience with, taking part in my mini workshop or my mini course.
Well, I'm a pharmacist for over 40 years, and Dr. Lisa has really transformed my career when I met her on September 4th, just a few months ago. I took her mini course, and she really taught me how to unlock what really is the personalities that I have inside, and to better collaborate with physicians. In 40 years, as an independent pharmacy, following my father's footsteps, I became a concierge pharmacist 7 years ago, with a goal of collaboration with physicians. And I was successful, but never as successful as I have been since I met Dr. Lisa, because she showed me how to match and mirror the personalities to the people I was wanting to collaborate with. And she showed me the opportunities that were there for me. So the day after I completed her course, I walked into the largest ACO in our area, and I was able to intentionally and professionally and successfully engage with that entity where I had never done it before. So if anyone's looking to do the kind of things that we dream about as pharmacists, to work collaboratively with other healthcare providers to help patients, I encourage you, I implore you to take this journey with Dr. Lisa. I have a hard stop at 2 o'clock to actually affect some of the things that Dr. Lisa has taught me, and I look forward to that. I was even able to sell my company to a very, very good other individual who was also a believer in Dr. Lisa's thought process. So I could move on to another chapter in my life. So I thank you, Dr. Lisa, for what you've done for me, and I know you do it for everybody else who follows your journey. So I thank you so much for all that you do.
I would like to thank our colleague, Mr. Ken Stanfield, for that wonderful experience, testimonial, and feedback. So at this point now, I'd like to invite you to my brand new program called the CRQ Leadership Academy. This is really brand new to pharmacists. I do a work, I have a broad clientele, but for the first time, I want to do something for pharmacists, because after I shared my little mini program that I had live, I started getting a lot of calls for coaching and having a long-term thing with pharmacists. And I feel that with my background as a pharmacy, I owe this to my profession. So I have put together a 6-month program for pharmacists that will go deeper to touching things on how to work with physicians, our kids at home, because this workshop helps in so many different ways, okay? Before I even go there, I just want to share a testimonial here from one of the participants in one of my workshops. I was invited to speak in Missouri for a Fortune 100 company, okay? And I gave just an hour workshop, and she said God needed to put the relational intelligence concept in my spirit. This was months after the workshop I got this message from her. I will share with you that my husband and I have recently separated and are trying to find our way back to each other. What we are missing is exactly that relational intelligence and speaking the same language. I had so many aha moments during your video. That's the workshop she meant, that I can't recall them all. I guarantee this will happen with others, both professionally and personally. Seriously, you blessed me with outreach, and I am so very excited for the work that you are doing. And she asked me to share this without really sharing who she is. And comments like this really, really break my heart, because she is not the only one. We have people that have divorced because of this and gotten back together when they realized that the problem was just this lack of interpersonal collaboration. And then I have a physician in DC that I was speaking said, I could not sleep after hearing you speak yesterday. I am a physician, and yet I have had it all wrong raising my kids. I raised all of them the same way, and now I feel like a parent. How come no one ever told me about this? So things like this. And when I speak to physicians, they tell me, how come we will learn all of this and nobody will tell us that patients are different and unique, their recommendations are different. I spoke at Harvard, and I've been speaking at the Harvard Global Health Summit every year. And once they figured this out, they invited us and they made this a CE for the physicians at the Healthcare Summit. And they keep saying, they say every physician must understand this. You cannot talk to patients the same way. You cannot deal with people as if they are one. People are very unique and different. And so for the pharmacists, I put something really unique, something I will never do, because it is really a very big package that I'm just going to narrow it down and bring to my pharmacist colleague for an offer that ends at the end of this year. You are not compelled to, but I want you to know if you need to talk about this some more, I've opened up my calendar to have discussion post this call, whether you want to join my flagship or not. I would like to give you clarity. I have this Christmas break available. But when you join this 6-month program, you will have my online course and workbook. I have a whole learning section that is worth $2,000. You have bi-weekly coaching with me that goes in depth into everything, how to interview, how to transition from one job to another. You have to remember that people are hired for their skill, they're fired for their behavior. So when you have the right behavior, you can work in any industry. When you show up properly for work, your paycheck goes up because you will stand out, okay? And I will teach you all those techniques. You will have exclusive access to expert presentation from other specialists and industries. You will have a private community for CRQ Academy pharmacists only. Not only that, you have a bonus to complete an assessment that is worth $1,000. You will have an assessment that will go really deep into you understanding who you are with a deep brief from me. You will have another big bonus. So I'm going to be doing like weekend retreats that is worth $5,000. You're going to be able to attend that retreat for free, which means if you join this program now, you will, and you don't even come to any of the programs and you choose to come for that retreat, you will still be a big winner, okay? I remember when I got my training as an executive coach, I paid $10,000 for 2 days. So I'm giving you a 6-month program with all of this, and this is a one-time trip I'm going to give my pharmacists. Access to my one-on-one coaching at a very discounted rate. This total value is $30,000 if you add it all up. But if you register before the end of the year or as soon as possible, you will be able to do that for $5,997. Now, I am bringing to you something that will not only change your career, it will change your personal life, whether you're married, single, it will change the way you view things, It will help to resolve a lot of problems that you are already paying professionals to resolve for you. And with my programs, it is guaranteed. If it is not working for you, I give your money back. But there's nobody that has ever attended my program and they don't want to even pay me for it without me asking because of the transformation that they see. You've heard testimonial from Dr. Miendam and Mr. Ken Stanfield, and there are many more like that. As a matter of fact, I invite you to go to my website. All those testimonials are real, and I have many, many more. This program is being used as a leadership training now for all pharmacy residents in a particular company. Lots of universities using now to train their pharmacists because they're beginning to realize that this is needed. One thing I hear from students is like, how come nobody taught us this? It should have been our first course year 1 in pharmacy school. We are in a relational age where 85% of our success depends on how we relate to each other, okay? You have 2 payments of $3,500. On top of all that, the first 10 people, students, or anybody that registers will get one-on-one coaching with me. And I am an expert in unlocking whatever thing you are stuck on. I am an expert. Give me 30 minutes of your time. I will unlock whatever thing you are stuck on. It's a guarantee. So this is a big treat. So I would like my team to share the link to register. Share this with your colleague. Share this with anybody that you know that can benefit from this. I am really very privileged and excited to be able to work with you guys and take you through this. But that's not all. You will complete from here with my first certification program, which you will be able to put on your resume and say, I am certified in CRQ Step 1. And when they ask you what is this, you will say this, that. As a matter of fact, when you start at that job, they will know something is different about you. Why? Because of the skills that you put in place, And wherever I work, I get called, an angel, or they just, everything just flows, and people know that there's something really different just because of these skills. Now, I'm just going to pause and ask you if you have any question. I want to answer your questions, even though I'm selling this product or showing this to you. I want you to be able to make your time worthwhile. Do you have any questions for me? If you have any questions and you think about it, you can book 15 minutes on my calendar, we have a quick chat. You have any questions about anything you've learned? And before you go, please let me know in the chat if you learned something. The one thing that you learned and the one thing that you're going to be doing differently because of this workshop. Okay. And so there will be a replay of this. Okay. So there's a link to the replay, and I like that we should put that link up. The video will show up maybe early tomorrow or later today. There will be a replay for you to go and digest this. If you have any questions, please feel free. And thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Elodie Tender. I learned so much about blending with the different personalities to ensure great relationship. Thank you for that feedback. And with this 6 months workshop, we're gonna go in depth into each personality, speaking into the language of physician, the specific matching and mirroring technique that you need to talk to physicians. We're going to learn how to be able to reverse negative behavior patterns. So let's say you have a behavior pattern that you want to get rid of. I will go detailedly into how you can reverse that in seconds, in a few seconds, how you can reverse that and be able to pick a new pattern that you are comfortable with. Because the key is being able to treat people the way they want to be treated, even in ways that they don't even think they can be treated. Remember, people like people that are like them or people that they want to be like. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And without any further ado, I'm not getting any questions. I would just want to wrap up and end with this saying from this author called Samuel Small. When you sow a character, you reap a habit. When you sow a habit, you change your destiny. What thought are you going to be sowing today because of this workshop that will change your destiny and that of others, that of your profession? That is all I will leave you with. What thought are you going to be sowing today that will transform your destiny and that of others? Thank you so much. It's really been a pleasure bringing collaborative relational intelligence, a leadership framework for pharmacists, and show you some tips and techniques on how you can be among the top 1% unstoppable pharmacists. Thank you so much. And so I want to be respectful of your time, and I would like to say that we've come to the end of this workshop. And again, if you are interested to know more, you can join my Leadership Academy, or you can book a discovery call with me, or if you have any questions, I've opened my calendar to talk to my pharmacy colleagues. Just open up, book a call, and we can have that chat from here. Again, thank you so much. And thank you. I remember to smile when I pick up the phone. Thank you so much. And make sure that you grab the worksheet that came with this. We have the 5 habits that I would like you to incorporate in your workday. The Dungeon Smile and all of that. That is really very effective in building rapport and connecting with others. That's good. Make sure you smile daily. That's very, very important. Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay. Have a good day, you all. Thank you.